Hello and welcome back for another video. I'm your boy KawzNova. Today we're going to be talking about drift tuning in Forza Horizon 5. I am the head of Team Revolution. We're a drift team based out of the Forza Horizon series. We were born in Forza Horizon 4. We've transitioned to Forza Horizon 5. We've been playing for about 5 days now, and I wanted to make a video giving you guys tips on how to drift tune your cars in Forza Horizon 5. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to go through each category and kind of go over how I drift tune my cars, and hopefully it can help you guys get some sick cars out on the road. But we'll see. Let's get right into it. All right, so jumping right into our first category, we have tires. And this is a very important category, especially when it comes to drifting, because of the dynamics of rear-wheel drive drifting in Forza Horizon 5. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on today, rear-wheel drive tunes. But basically the way these tire gauges work is it works on how much pressure is in the tire, how many pounds of pressure of air is in the tire. So in your fronts, generally when driving and drifting in rear-wheel drive, we want to keep our fronts a lot lower pressure because lower tire pressure equals more grip in the tire. We want more grip in the fronts, and we want high pressure, low grip in the rear so we can get those rear wheels spinning. Generally, I run anywhere from 20 to 30 in the front and from 30 to 40 in the rear to keep my rear stiff and my fronts grippy. All right, moving along into probably the most complex category of drift tuning or tuning of any kind in the Forza Horizon series would be gearing. So I'm going to go over it really quickly for those of you that aren't too familiar with gearing. I could probably do a whole 5-minute video on gearing just alone. Let me know down in the comment box below if you guys want to see that video. If I get 3 comments asking for that video, I will do it. But basically a good general thing to go off of when you're looking at gearing is we want to shorten our gears so that we're getting higher RPMs faster in the gears. And a good way to do this is to look at that first category, final drive, which will adjust all your gears at once, and go ahead and push that up anywhere from about, I would say, 3.75 to 4.0 and maybe a little bit higher if you need be, but that will shorten your gears up and give you a lot more kick in your first, second, and third. All right, jumping over into alignment. Everybody loves putting camber on those wheels. Is it a show car or is it a drift car? Well, today we're going to get into it. Camber is a thing that cocks your wheels out and make them look all sick and stanced and squatted. And that is okay to have in the fronts, especially because when you have those wheels stanced like that and you're in a drift and the car is squatting, you're actually making more surface contact with the tire. So in the fronts, we do like this because we like having grip in the front. So I run full -5 camber in the fronts usually for every drift car of mine. And in the rear, we like full contact on launch and not necessarily during. We do prefer to have it on launches and in straights. So I usually run very, very little camber in my rear, sometimes all the way up to -1.5. But as you can see here in this car, I'm running 0. Getting into toe in and toe out, this is a pretty simple concept. So this toe in and toe out, basically towing in will bring in the fronts of your tires closer together, or towing out will bring the rears of your tires closer in and out together. Bringing the rears closer together will help you with turn in response, so the car will be a lot more squirrely and ready to hit turns. Bringing them in, I do believe I could have this reversed, but this is the general concept. Bringing them in will keep it more stable and harder to oversteer. So you can play with those as you like. I usually don't run them very much. If anything, I might run -1 and +1, or -0.1 and -1.1. But other than that, I don't usually put a lot of toe into my vehicles. And then front caster angle, I always run at full 7 degrees. Okay, moving on to anti-roll bars. Basically, your anti-roll bars are going to control the stiffness of the vehicle and how much it is flexing within the drift. I don't usually tweak these too much, and it's going to depend on how you like to drift. If you build a car that's a lot more stiff, or if you build a car that's a lot more grip-based, so you'll have to play with these yourself. But oftentimes, you don't have to mess with them too much. Most cars will be okay and ready to drift right off the bat, and you can do some fine-tuning as you get the tune ready. All right, moving along into springs. So springs is really up to the driver. I see a lot of drivers who run the more stiff, high power builds, and I see a lot of drivers who run softer grip builds. It really depends on what you like. You can generally leave these around the middle of the area or kind of fine tune them to how you like. Even stock sometimes is okay until you find the way you really like to do your springs. I generally run somewhere around the middle, never too soft, never too stiff. Ride height, of course, I always drop as low as we can go because we want those body kits scraping, do we not? All right, so moving along into dampening, we're going to be talking about rebound stiffness and bump stiffness, and these settings will correlate with what you did with your springs and anti-roll bars, whether you decided to go more soft or more stiff, or you stayed in the middle. You definitely want to try and correlate your dampening with your springs and anti-roll bars. But that being said, we'll talk a little bit about what rebound and bump stiffness are. So rebound stiffness is generally the rate at which your springs are absorbing shock and how much your tires are pushing up, and then your bump stiffness is how much the car, like once that point has been reached and how much the car is actually actually pushing up from contacting, say, that pothole. So you're going to have your tire push in, and then your bump stiffness is going to determine how much the car actually moves up. So it's kind of a complex thing there, but one thing to generally keep in mind, no matter what you set your rebound stiffness in, you want to keep your bump stiffness around 50 to 75% of whatever your rebound stiffness is, just to make sure that the shocks are absorbing before your car is being pushed. Moving along into aero, and this is really going to depend whether or not you've installed a wing on your drift car that is adjustable. That's how you unlock this setting here, and you can see that I don't have it unlocked, but I do recommend to always try to move this slider toward cornering. Since we are looking at drifting, we want that wing to help you enter those corners and to help you keep those drifts. All right, getting into braking, this is a very important category when it comes to building a drift tune in the Forza Horizon series. And a little technique that was handed down to me from a very awesome dude, a radical streamer, a sick content creator, the man Doe Wolfpack. Appreciate him for showing me this, and I've used it ever since he showed it to me with different variations. But generally, we're creating a soft brake technique, which allows us to brake while gassing or while in a tandem and close to a car to adjust our speed slightly and not so aggressively like when a braking would lock up. So we soften the brakes, and by doing this I push about 20% of the braking force to the rear, and then I lower that braking pressure all the way down to about 30 to 45%, just so I have a really nice soft brake that allows me to adjust my speed without actually locking up the car or causing a harsh brake check. Alright, so let's talk about the differential. The way to access a differential is basically to install any differential that is better than a stock differential on your drift car, and they do have the new drift differentials available in the Forza Horizon 5 series. So when it comes to tuning your differential, the way I almost always do this with almost all of my drift cars, no matter the horsepower levels, is I get in there and I kick that acceleration all the way up to high, and I usually bring my deceleration from anywhere from 50 to 75%. And this is something that I've done all throughout Forza Horizon 4 and Forza Horizon 5, even with the drift differential. So I highly recommend doing it that way.